Now let's see what he says about himself. Back to the beginning, look at chapter 2. Let's go through again, this time much faster, and let's look at what Jesus describes himself as. Now remember, if you're going to study the Bible, you have to study aggressively, you have to study looking for something, and you have to keep track of it. You should write in your Bible or write in a notebook or use marker pens, and you should wear your Bible out, and you should have to get a new one. Usually when you find someone whose Bible's falling apart, they're not, and that's something important, so wear it out. 2:19, it says this, "And Jesus said to them, 'Can the friends of the bridegroom fast when the bridegroom is with them?'" Who do you think Jesus was saying he was? The bridegroom. He's introducing something. Did you know Jesus says, "I want you to think of me"? By the way, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. Why did Jesus never get married? Is it because marriage is dirty? And that's what they thought in the Middle Ages. That's where celibacy comes from, of the clergy. Oh, you can't get married, that's bad. That's wicked. No. Jesus didn't get married, I personally believe, because he's engaged to us. And he's keeping himself, kind of being an example. We should keep ourselves for who we're going to marry and not do anything else before we're married. And also, we should keep ourselves from the adultery of being in love with the world because we're engaged to Jesus Christ. And he says, "I want you to know something. I'm your bridegroom." Now, would it be a very effective thing if your bridegroom, if you didn't recognize each other, if you forgot each other's names, if you didn't know each other? You wouldn't think there's a lot of love lost between those two, would you? What he's saying is, I'm the bridegroom. And he said, I want you to look at me that way. That's who I am. I want you to think about that. He is our bridegroom. And as much as, we were just in Barnes & Nobles the other day, and they had this whole display of all these, it must be wedding season, because all these brides magazines, I didn't know there were so many. There's just a whole big end cap of them, just all, and the right dress and the right, how to get it all beautiful. It showed how to hang stuff down and have lights over your table of food and have outdoor weddings and all this stuff. And people really get into that. And it's wonderful. But it's a picture of how we're supposed to get into thinking about our honeymoon, being one with Christ. And that's why he gave us marriage, to have such a picture of his love. Well, let's hasten. There's so many. Look at chapter 2, verse 28. Here's the second one of his own descriptions. He said, "Therefore the Son of Man is also Lord of the Sabbath." Now, this is a dual meaning. The biggest thing to the Jews was the Sabbath. The Sabbath was a day of rest. So Jesus says, I'm the Lord of rest. Okay? I'm the Lord of all the law, because the prime law was the Sabbath observance. They had more laws. The Jews had extrapolated more laws about the Sabbath than anything else. He says, I'm the Lord of that. I'm the Lord of all religious observance. But also, that's one of the names of God in the Old Testament. Jehovah Sabaoth, which means the Lord of hosts, or the Lord of armies. And so it's a dual meaning here. He says, I'm the Lord of the Sabbath, which means I am the one who will give you rest, who complete all of your religious seeking, but he says, all of your worship, but he says, I'm also the Lord of hosts. He says, I'm the one who will defend you. I am the one who will guard you. It's a beautiful dual meaning, and he calls himself that. He says, I am Lord of the law. I am the Lord of the Sabbath. He says, I am your bridegroom, and I'm in charge of everything you need.